promise I'm not going to rant too much, okay? But I do think to set the stage up front, I have to give you a little report card on the industry. You know, a year ago, all the conversation was, what are you yelling about, Dave? Yeah, it's like, you know, in school and the teacher says at the F are you. Okay, so in the industry, right, so what a year ago? Everything was about spectrum, everything was about capacity, speed, reliability, and we still had this subsidization issue that was driving everybody crazy when we talked about value plans. Device choices, we didn't even have the iPhone and other devices yet. Penalties, ETFs, data overages, etc. This whole prepaid differential. Now, that was then, and there's a now. But in order to talk about the now, let me just do 1 second on each of my friendly competitors, if you don't mind. And then we'll come back. Now, let's start with Verizon. I want to give them huge credit for standing up and saying, our network is bloated, the speeds are too slow, we're going to do something about it. Okay? That's the way you stand up and solve a problem. However, in this industry, when there's a problem and your network is slow, you should be able to leave. That's it. I'll be back when things are better. You don't download, I'm leaving, I'll be back later. Okay? But they lost sight of their customers because of their success, and they took customers for granted. Now, what I'm going to talk about a lot here today, towards the end, is I have come to the understanding and final conclusions that one of the biggest evils in this industry is the family plan. And if you think about it, we grew up thinking the family plan was a nice thing to give a family. They all sat together, they got lower prices, and it was good for everybody. That is total horseshit. A family plan is nothing more than a contract on super steroids with staggered dates, a complete life sentence. And by the way, I said it jokingly last year, but the data caps in the family plan have forced the people in the family to think each other is the problem with the limitations on their data. And it's not Joe Schmo pulling down porn that's the problem. It's that the family has a data cap that's too low for everybody. And it's part of a data monetization strategy that Verizon talks about all the time. So summary on Verizon, hey, not us. 55% EBITDA margins. We don't want to compete with those guys. Everything's great. We're the best network in the world. Hold that thought. Okay, Sprint. I'll make this quick. Sprint is a pile of spectrum waiting to be turned into a capability. Right now, their network is completely horrible. They got high, medium, and low, and they keep talking about pardon our dust while we redecorate. Then why, right after they say that, do they keep announcing things? The network modernization plan took forever. That Spanky thing or whatever they announced, Sparky, I mean, come on. People in lab coats talking about what's going to happen when my daughter's president of the United States. You know, that's another thing where I would just say, whether it's the zombie commercials or that's James Earl talking about the tweets that I have no idea what they were talking about, student plans at Best Buy, you know, and did I really hear Framley yesterday? But I wasn't surprised because last week I heard they might bring the Nextel brand back. So I would just summarize them as an impaired brand right now with a network capability that won't be here for a while. Customers should be able to leave, and when it turns out to be whatever they're going to have that beams up Scotty, then go back. Okay? I forgot one. AT&T. AT&T is a total source of amusement for me, because they're the one that takes my bullshit. Dumb move. They take the bait. And they talk in corporate speak. Now, finally, when they got around to looking at handset subsidization, they couldn't do it. Did they just say that it's a competitive environment and our customers need subsidization? No. The geniuses came out and said something along the lines of, when the saturation point in the industry reaches over 92%, economically, come on, you got hosed. And what you're going to see then is, you know, these are fat cats that can't move. I was watching TV the other day after they announced their plan to kind of win the customers back that we took from them that I'll explain in a second. Why don't you have the balls to answer the question, hey, is this targeted at T-Mobile because they're taking a piece out of you? No, I would like to give our customers a chance to experience our network and our J.D. Power is winning. Come on, bullshit. You'll have the answer in a few seconds. Next, Zero Down, Jeremy, and these sponsored data. I'll take that in Q&A. That is the biggest horse shit in the world. right? So what happened in sponsored data? You got people with a data cap that are pissed because they can't go to sites because they're limited on their capability. And what do? Instead of changing that with your customers, you go over to the people that can't get to the customers, and you say, I have a great idea. I'll preferentially charge you to get to those customers. And the customers won't be pissed when they go to United Healthcare because they're under their data cap because you're paying. Give me a break. How long will it take us to disrupt that? I mean, if I could smell Uncarrier 9 coming up on that one at some point in time. But I'll come back because I think we're going to have to fire the kids, which is going to be a later point in the presentation. Did you notice, by the way, that AT&T's commercials changed last week? Did anybody see that? It now says that they're faster than Verizon and bigger than T-Mobile. Okay? Do you think that there's a reason for that? Coming. Okay, so that's a little piece. And what I would say is last year, what we set out with your behalf is to break a stupid, broken, arrogant industry. We're not done, but here's where the power comes. In the past 365 days, we've delivered in a big way, right? Customers are telling us we got it right. They like our changes. Right now, how do you test that, right? So here's what I want to do. What time is it, by the way? No, time on the clock. Oh, that's not that good. All right, well, we'll do it anyway. Okay, so biggest thing that's going to give power to this company is what? Customers. Everything's about customer choice. 4.4 million. That's a turnaround in 1 year. 4.4 million customers coming to T-Mobile. That has made us the fastest growing wireless company in the U.S. Now, I can tell you what's going to happen from here when we announce the next few things. We are either going to take over this whole industry, or these bastards are going to change, the whole industry is going to shift, and we will still be highly successful, and I don't give a goddamn either one of those things. I'm going to love watching the Peckers scream and cry and do everything that we've got to do because we're going to win. And that's a lot of fun. So that's results. That's announcement number one. These are big MRFer results. Okay, so here is Ralphie, who lost a lot of weight and got rid of that mustache. I thought he looked better fat, frankly. And then, you know, you look at these results. Come on. This is unbelievable. So at least say it. They got a good idea. And by the way, you know what you do if you're these guys? Do it. It's not that hard. We're going to help them in a second. Okay, now, recap before I get to Uncarrier 4. Here's what's going on. We're eliminating pain points. It's not that complicated. By the way, do you know sometime what you're going to find out that might have happened? We might have announced an Uncarrier phase and not really known what we were going to do, and then listened to the rumors of what everybody wanted, and then did that, because the answers that come in are beautiful. 1.0 was a watershed moment. And part of 1.0, by the way, was 100% value plans. And 100% value plans is the end of subsidies. It's a migration that makes phone creators deal with customers. By the way, the other day when a couple of carriers announced a preferential, unique device that only they have, that model doesn't work when you have no subsidization in contracts. Because wouldn't you want more distribution if there's not contracts and subsidization? This is changing the industry. By the way, I saw some press releases lately where people are waking up to, hey, this is really good for wireless carriers. How many wireless carriers spend CapEx on other than their retail distribution and on their networks? So that's where they should be running their business, not trying to sell devices. 100% value plans, no contracts, not an offer. This isn't an offer. This is a lifestyle. There will never be contracts anywhere in our business. No overages, very simple pricing, no contracts. What's happened? 12.2 million customers have come to Simple Choice. You want a little stat? If you're sitting down in Washington, D.C., or you want to know about the industry, if everybody switched to T-Mobile from Verizon, Sprint, and AT&T, the savings for customers would be $20 billion. That's bigger than an auction. Okay, that's number one. Number two, this one got a lot of response, mostly terrible. Anytime upgrade. This is able to do what you want when you want. Best in the industry. 3.6 million customers have moved to Jump. And this is going extremely well. Again, it's a lifestyle. It's going to be a change. 3.0. I will tell you, we will become famous for this in 14. This is no more bill shock, no international data roaming charges. The world is your network. The feedback has been huge. Customers have paid millions of charges. This is an automatic switching point. So right now, there are a bunch of really pissed off people in contracts hearing about people on vacation that can do whatever they want for free. Data usage internationally on our network, 10x at no cost to customers, tenfold. Okay, and as I told you before, this was not our business. Okay, that's 3.
Thanks. It's Paul Marsh from Berenberg. What are your expectations for the big competitors' reaction over the medium term here? It sounded from your opening comments like you think that they're constrained by their back books and constrained by their culture. But then it also sounds in your pitch to the FCC that you don't actually think you're going to get a free ride. So what's embedded in your midterm expectations for the reaction from competitors?
Well, first of all, I think in 2014, you've seen most of what they have to show, right? I mean, these guys are fighting all out, price changes, watching carefully what to do with their base and understand the significant value if they price down their entire base. And I think this is a conversation, again, where the benefits of us and DT talking about this, you know, is the questions, how does DT respond to competition, what would we do? First of all, the difference with AT&T and Verizon, with all due respect, they're not that good. I mean, they really have spent so long not listening to their customers. You know, what we're doing, and it turns out we're a small company. We're very visible and transparent and focused, and what we care about is an individual customer's ability to get this device and use it in their life. And I spend 10 hours a day on Twitter and email talking to individual people. They can't do it. They won't do it. You know, they're spoiled, and they created this thing that customers hate. So what we've got is, we've got a brand now. This is a biggest evolution in 2 years is the Un-carrier brand stands for something. It stands for a commitment to customers to cause significant change to the pain points that they hate. And right now, the biggest fear I would have if I was the big guys is their customers survey that we are doing more for them than they are. So what I get is most of my mail, I get mail from AT&T and Verizon customers thanking me for AT&T's changes they made to them. So that's one of the difficulties, which is what they do, they're doing towards us. So last piece I would say is think about AT&T, to use a war analogy or so. Their expectation was to generate significant amounts of cash from the wireless business that they would invest internationally as they are in Mexico, other industries like, you know, digital security, home security, car of the future, what they're doing now with DirecTV. And, you know, so they're not really focused on their core business. And I think Verizon has a significant debt issue that they're dealing with as well, and their margins are under pressure. I think what you saw in the end of 2014 is they tried it in Q4, didn't feel good. They both reported margin pressure and earnings misses, and I would actually expect that the Strategy 101 will take place in 2015, where they'd rather give a few share points than fight at that level until they figure out what's going to happen.
Hey, John, there's increasing speculation that you guys might be acquired by Sprint or somebody else. Could you talk about how that might affect customer decisions to take you up on some of these shifting offers?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you know that as the CEO of a public company, I'm supposed to drool and say, you know, man, we don't have anything to say about that. I have a couple things to say about it, actually. And, you know, I want to make sure that you understand. Here's my view of the industry. And I'm not a newcomer anymore, but I've got a view of this industry. Historically, the consolidation of this industry was generally somebody buying somebody for spectrum, right? They didn't give a shit about the business. They wanted spectrum. And I think what you notice is all of the people that are rumoring around about T-Mobile, all they are is spectrum. They're spectrum with no legs, right? So what I can tell you is the T-Mobile Un-carrier business, the people, the brand, the attitude is here to stay. The impact on the United States industry of this company will prevail. Now, how that ultimately plays out in a, certainly I want you to think about two things about T-Mobile. One is what we showed last week is we can acquire low-band spectrum. We can continue to participate in the availability of spectrum, build this company out, and be standalone independent because we not only have an engine, we got legs. On the other hand, there are options for the industry in the future that are consolidation capabilities that would provide significant scale and capability. But I believe what we are in any of those equations is a brand, a focus on the consumer, a change agent, a maverick in the industry that I believe the United States feels is extremely important. So I think what we're doing in any scenario will prevail.
Yes, sir. A question. Hi, Walter Brand from the Boston Globe. I just want to know, what happened to you? By which I simply mean, was there a moment, an experience, an incident that made you suddenly take this very, I don't know, angry is the right word, maybe contemptuous, hostile attitude toward the way the industry has been run up to now? Was there something that happened to change your mind?
Listen, when I came to T-Mobile, I came because I looked in at the brand and the people, and I could see, anybody ever go sing karaoke, right? Karaoke, that's the best way to say it. The rule of thumb in karaoke is when somebody sings and they suck, go next. Right? Okay, and I'm not casting on individuals. I'm saying that period that happened with T-Mobile in the failed acquisition was terrible. And the engine was sitting on idle, but the cash was there. The spectrum was there. The people are unbelievable. The team knew exactly what to do. The company was being run as a subsidiary instead of a company. There was capital that wanted to come and play. You get off your ass and get the iPhone and get the devices. Start the consolidation. And I saw that this company could take advantage of an industry that's growing in the participation in the way. Now, what happened, I'm just a sponge. And when I got here and I talked with customers, I couldn't believe how contemptuous. People, it wasn't like I'm unhappy. They hated everything about the wireless experience, the most important device that they have in their life. They hated it. They hated the carriers. They hated the experience. They hated the way you purchase phones. They hated the unpredictability, the bills, the inability to upgrade. And so I took that on as our company being different from the carriers, being the uncarrier, being the one to bring change to consumers and knowing that it would change. And I'm just a highly competitive, I'd say midlife crisis, but I had that about 30 years ago. And it's fun. We're a very competitive group, and it's fun. It's fun to win. It's even more fun when somebody loses and hurts while you're doing it. But the big winner here is customers. Right now, this thing that we just announced, I don't know if it's going to make us the number 2 or 3 carrier immediately, but people are giddy on this because it allows them to go in and go to the other carriers and say, what the F? I'm not doing this anymore. What are you going to do for me? And that's been different.
Now, as John said, it's built on a set of pillars. The first one we'll talk about, number 2, is a great sales and service experience. And I'll tell you, when John came into the company 2.5 years ago, we embarked upon changing the culture of T-Mobile US in a fairly profound way. And really put in a principle that said, the frontline people, the people that work with our customers, the frontline is first because customers are first. Now look, in big companies, you have plenty of executives that go around like robots and say, our people are our most important asset and so on.
None here.
But look, what we've done is we've changed in a radical way the culture of the company to center the company around our people that deal with customers, to put them in charge. We often tell ourselves and our people that we can learn everything we need to know to run this company just by talking to the people that talk to customers, by listening. These uncarrier moves, people ask us, where do you guys come up with these things? Do you sit around and come up with them on your own? Of course not. We talk to our people. They tell us what to do. And that's the culture that we've put in. We've gone, as John said, from being consistently in last place in J.D. Powers to consistently first or second. And we believe we've got the people and the culture and the tools with a few more pieces to come together this year in IT to consistently break away from the pack and be number 1 over time. Now,